9 months ago, I had no idea whether or not desalination would be harmful for the Bay. I knew I had to figure it out though, because if this became a decades-long headache, I'd be kicking myself in the butt for not doing something about it when I had the chance. At first, I thought it'd be easy to figure out. I figured I could do a couple of Google searches and call it a day, but that wasn't the case. So for the next 3 months, I studied desal like it was a full-time job. First, I learned that we have a sheltered-based system and that desal has never been done in a sheltered-based system before. We're basically blocked off from the ocean except for a couple of narrow passes, which means we get very little tidal activity compared to the ocean or to an open bay. Then I learned that the Inner Harbor plant is overwhelmingly likely to create dead zones in the Corpus Christi Bay, and that the only way to make sure this doesn't happen is to check ahead of time by using something called a far-field model. A couple of months later, the city said it was not going to do a far-field model because it wouldn't help them get their permit. That was a bummer. Then a month ago, the port released their far-field model for the entire Corpus Christi Bay. When I heard about that, I figured there's no reason for the city not to do a far-field model now. They have one available to use from the port, and most of the hard work has already been done. It's a no-brainer. That's when I decided to start a petition to demand the city to do a far-field model for their Inner Harbor plant. That was a month ago, and today I'm submitting 250 signatures. Now, I know for you that's not a lot of signatures for a petition, but these are 250 people who are concerned about this project. Not all of them are able to come in on a Tuesday morning to leave a comment, so I'm here today to make sure that their concerns are heard. Residents are worried that desalination will be harmful to wildlife. They are worried that improper planning will lead to higher water bills, and they are upset that the city has done nothing to address their concerns. Residents are paying for this project, and I feel like it's only fair that they get an accurate representation of what's going to happen. They deserve a far-field model. Other plants in better areas have one. There's no reason why we shouldn't have one. It would cost less than 1% of what has already been spent, and it could save us millions of dollars. For example, if you build a 30 MGD plant in an area that can only environmentally handle 10 MGD, that could be a huge waste of resources. Residents deserve a far-field model, and you can make that happen.
I will read parts of a statement written about desal that was found on the internet. The city's current plan to bring desal to our area has several problems, but these are the main ones. Number one, they plan to borrow the money for construction. Number two, who will pay that cost? Industry, property owners? Number three, they are planning a facility that will dump excess brine stripped from the seawater into our harbor. Number four, the unknown cost to own and operate a desal facility. As we are all aware, governments never operate anything very efficiently and effectively, and certainly not cost effectively. For 30 years, our city has struggled to fix a pothole properly. How do we expect they can operate a complex desal facility? All we have to do is provide the take or pay contracts for the raw water they provide. This has the potential to allow our city to provide local industry with a reliable, uninterrupted raw water source through a negotiated long-term contract. At the same time, rate-paying water users will not be saddled with paying for the $220 million loan and for yearly operating costs. As to the brine disposal, there are far too many environmental issues associated with disposal in the Inner Harbor or coastal bays. The better solution is to go offshore. The Gulf Coast Aquifer is a prolific, drought-proof, sustainable water source of water, which in some locations is drinking water quality right out of the ground. The name under these statements was Councilmember Mike Pusley when he was a candidate for City Council at large. I think many people agree with these statements. Maybe that is why he was elected. His voting record goes against the statements he made to voters before the election. As can be seen by this picture of the far-field model comparing the port's suspended La Quinta project to the city's Inner Harbor plant. The Councilmember Pusley was correct in saying, quote, There are far too many environmental issues associated with disposal in the Inner Harbor or the coastal bays. I couldn't agree more. As always, have a nice day.
And I am a lifelong resident of Corpus Christi. My comments are going to be presented for the sake of showing my concern for the city's goal towards the Inner Harbor Desalination Plant. I speak solely as a concerned member of my community. With that being said, my current understanding is that the presented benefits of this plan is that we will have more usable fresh water after undergoing the desalination process. In theory, we all know how well our city's residents can benefit from having a consistent flow of clean water available. I have no issue with that. My issue comes from the environmental impacts associated with the desalination process. We cannot afford for the salinity levels of our bay to further rise from this plant's brine discharge. We're presented with the same half-hearted answer every time we try to further dig into the ramifications presented, and I really don't feel as if our city is fully equipped to deal with this. In addition to this, I know I speak on behalf of several members of Corpus Christi when I can say that we also cannot afford to have our water rates go up to fund this proposition. It is estimated that the plant would be costing almost $760 million in addition to annual maintenance costs. Why are we expected to face the blade of the same sword that swings against us, that swings against our precious environment, against our peoples and communities and marine life? This brings me to my third concern. This plant doesn't seem to be in the best interest of our residents, but more so to industry. Why is it that companies like Valero or Exxon pay less per gallon while using upwards of 10 million gallons per day? Residents already pay so much while taking up so little of our city's water supply, less than 15% to be exact. You cannot tell us that this plant is installed in the best interest of our people when the majority of the best interest is most definitely to industry. Thank you for your time.
I'm here today to continue to express my disappointment in how the city is handling the Inner Harbor Desalination Project and the lack of transparency around it. The reasoning for not completing the far-field model, that it's apparently too expensive or wouldn't help defend the permit, I don't think that should be an excuse when it's something that could give us critical information on how the project is going to affect our bay and environment. And at this point, it doesn't matter who brought these concerns up, whether a city official or a port attorney. The concerns about the environment are real. We don't need proof that our bay is vulnerable to serious environmental damage, as those concerns have been long raised by the community. What we need is real answers and accountability to the residents. Earlier this year, there was supposed to be a town hall about water issues hosted by CC Water, but it got canceled and never rescheduled. That's not okay when we're talking about a project this big. On top of that, the city is about to take on a huge sum of debt for the desal project while we still have stormwater legacy debts at this time of more than $200 million. This project is going to have financial consequences for the residents through their water rates. In April, we had the TCEQ hearing where more than 200 people showed up and more than 80 spoke against the project. And since there hasn't been a town hall, like I don't know what you expect people that have concerns about this project. What else we can do? I just want the city to be upfront and clear with us. We deserve to know the full picture and understand the real impacts of this project. If it was tangibly benefiting residents, show us how. Please do the due diligence required, and it's frustrating that it hasn't been done given how long this project has been in discussion. We're just concerned about the bay and our neighbors. Thank you.